So in this video, I'm gonna look at and talk about the video from Wheat Waffles about socializing the dating market. So first of all, I don't like Wheat Waffles. I don't like what he's doing. I don't like how he's just this very well-off guy who just talk about the black pill and how bad things are, but he doesn't seem to support any changes that you should do to make things better and more fair for men. No, he doesn't seem to promote anything like this, but rather just talk about how bad things are. And he's also using men through face rating, and he can have people, he can have men being insecure about their looks and therefore have them feel the need to give him money through face rating so that they can see where they are, if they have a chance or not, or if it's over for them. And yeah, I don't like this. This is not good. And I truly believe that a lot of these black pillars out there are really just well-off men who tries to beat down other men. They are men who don't have any serious issues in this system, and therefore they don't care about how other men have it bad. And they can defend the current system and try to convince other men that the system is okay and fair and they shouldn't do anything about it. And they can try to convince the less fortunate men that they are trash, who don't deserve a woman. It's okay and fair that they don't have anything because the system is fair. And this is terrible. You shouldn't justify this system that is today because it's incredibly unfair. It's very bad. Anyway, so I bumped into this video some time ago when it had just come out. And when I saw the video then, when I saw the thumbnail and all, I was like, yeah, I didn't click on it because I thought that it would probably be stupid. It would probably be about Wheat Waffles defending the current system, and he wouldn't support monogamy because Wheat Waffles is a very well-off guy. He's good looking and he is also big on YouTube, so he has lots of status through this. So why would he care? This system that is now, it doesn't have any serious effects on him, so why would he care about it being extremely unfair for other men? Why would he promote a change? Well, recently I bumped into the video again, and this time I decided to watch it because, yeah, why not? And guess what? I was right. He wasn't at all supportive of this change to monogamy. And anyway, I'm gonna watch it now.
We've all heard of socialism before. The radical redistribution of wealth from the richest people of society to the poorest.
Yeah.
This system is often proposed as a solution by those on the far left to rectify the
Radical.
extreme and ever-increasing
Far left
levels
uses
of
this
wealth
word to make it seem so
inequality.
extreme.
Recently, I've seen some men proposing a somewhat similar system in relation to the dating market. Because, just like there's a growing gap between the rich and poor in terms of wealth, there is also a growing gap in the dating market between the men at the top who get most of the women and the men at the bottom who are essentially getting left out.
Yeah,
The
men have it
80-20
harder.
rule is often cited as an accurate depiction of this dating inequality, in which the top 20% of men have access to 80% of the women, while the bottom 80% of guys are competing for just that last 20%. Anyway, on hearing these figures, this is where this dating redistribution thing might sound like a possible solution. And this is what I'm going to be evaluating in this video. I've got 2 pros and 3 cons arguing both for and against the idea. And by the end, I hope we reach a justified conclusion whether or not this redistribution program ought to have any place in the real world. So,
you can't compare the economic market with the dating market like this. If you look at the free economic market that is today, it's basically like this. There are some people at the top getting the highest salary. Then there's other people below that who gets a lower salary, a bit lower salary, and then there's people below them who get a bit lower salary again, and so on. So these people, there is a hierarchy. They don't get as much money, the different people, but they all get money. Now, on the dating market, this can be compared as the most attractive guy getting the most attractive woman. That's like the highest salary. And the bit less attractive guy gets a bit less attractive woman. And so on, and so on. So, these men, they don't get as attractive women. They get matches. So, yeah, they don't get as attractive women, but they all get women. However, this is not how a free dating market looks like. No, how it is that the most attractive guys gets the most attractive women. And they get other women as well. You know, they get the less attractive women as well. While other men can be left with nothing. They can't even get a woman that matches them in attractiveness. They may not be able to get anything. So some men are just, the men at the top are getting this massive and very disproportionate amount of the women and the sex. While other men are being very unfairly treated and can't get, they get disproportionately little amount of this. And so it's very unfair, and on the economic market, this can be compared as the people at the top not just getting the highest salary, but they are also taking the salaries of other workers. So they're getting this massive, disproportionate amount of money, while the other people are getting much less than what they deserve. They get much less money than what they deserve, compared to how they work and how good they are. They may just be slaves working for nothing and having it terribly. So of course, if you look at this economic market, I think you would understand that this is extremely unfair. And this is how it is on a free dating market. Some men are just getting a massively disproportionate amount of women and sex, while other men are being very unfairly treated. So, you couldn't possibly come with any reasonable argument for why some guy deserves to sleep with hundreds of women, while other men can't get anything at all. It's obviously extremely disproportionate. It's very unfair. You can't compare. So you can't compare a free economic market, today's free economic market, with today's free sexual market, because it's not at all the same.
So, without further ado, let's get this started, and we'll begin with our pros. Perhaps the biggest pro in favour of redistribution is that it will restore the family system in modern society for good, which up until recently has been getting completely torn apart. Some figures: the rate of single motherhood has exploded in recent decades. If the family goes, so does our prosperity. To provide some data supporting this, figures show children born out of wedlock are 9 times more likely to drop out of high school and
You shouldn't sleep around irresponsibly. You should only have kids if you are in a serious monogamous relationship.
20 times more likely to end up in jail. What can be done about it? Well, this is where dating redistribution could come in. I'll be making the assumption this system would work by assigning every man to a woman at a certain age. Let's say 18. And then that's who they'd have to spend the rest of their life with, whether they like it or not. So,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be the case that you are literally forced to be with one specific person. No, what you can do instead is to just forbid people to have more than one sexual partner. So there is one free woman for every free man, basically. That's what you can do instead. That kind of monogamy you can have instead. In this way, you're not forced to be with one specific person. You can still choose, but yeah, you won't have as many options. Women won't have as many options, but they will still have options. They will still be able to choose. You don't need to literally force people. You don't need to have that kind of monogamy.
under this system, it would ensure our future generations are raised in complete families. Or, even if the system doesn't work out to be perfect, it'll at least be an improvement on the over 40% broken families disaster we're seeing today. So, put simply, a strong argument in favour of assigning people to get together at a young age is that when the dating market fails at the one thing it is supposed to do, make families, then perhaps the only solution is to get rid of that market altogether.
You don't need to get rid of the whole market. There'll still be a market. If you just forbid people to have more than one sex partner, there will still be a market. There will still be a hierarchy. You know, people will still be able to choose. So yeah, there will still be a market.
If the people of society aren't going to raise the next generation adequately, then we're going to put systems in place forcing you to do so. This leads greatly into my next pro of redistribution, which is that on top of fixing families, it should simultaneously rectify soaring inequality in dating among men. I think what's got to be asked after seeing the dismantling of the family in the West is how did we even get to this point in the first place? Well, the answer is many things changed. 1. Women entered the workforce, which allowed them to make their own money, so they were no longer dependent on men to provide for the family. 2.
Even if you have monogamy, women can still work.
2. Benefits for single parents are now more generous than ever, providing an incentive to have kids out of wedlock. 3. Divorce benefits have also become so desirable that in some cases, a woman may be tempted to go even as far as splitting her family up in order to obtain the windfall of wealth waiting for her on the other side. In fact, adding a little more, this point has gotten so bad that a staggering 70% of divorces are initiated by women today.
Yeah, that's not surprising at all, considering how it's so incredibly easy for women to just find a new guy. She can just break up with him whenever she feels bored and just find a new one immediately, while it can be very difficult for a man to get a new one. So it's not strange if he really wants to maintain the relationship if he's in one. And well, a woman can just very easily just break up and find a new one.
4. Social media has given women unrealistic expectations in what kind of man they can get, which puts further pressure on the average to below average men they'll end up settling down with, aka they all think they can do better. And lastly, 5. Values of monogamy have been significantly eroded in recent decades. It's now seen as acceptable.
Yeah, it's terrible. This is really terrible. Of course, social media and dating apps has caused women to get way more options, and therefore they have become just way pickier. They are absurdly picky and have absurdly high standards. And with not having monogamy, it causes just a small minority of men to get this massive disproportionate share of women. while other men are being unfairly treated and may not be able to get anything at all. That's terrible. It's an extreme injustice for men.
The less families there are, the more inequality there is. I'll
Injustice for men.
repeat, less families equals more inequality. Because families are a unique thing which ensures a one-to-one distribution of men to women. If you take this away, dating will naturally follow the Pareto distribution instead, where the top 20% of men have access to 80% of the women. How can we put an end to this? Well, we can't rewind the clock 100 years.
You don't need
And
to do
we
that.
also can't reprogram women's minds to put an end to widespread entitlement.
Just because I'm monogamy
So,
doesn't mean that you
once
go
more,
back in
it
time.
seems the solution may be to redistribute dating across the entire population of men and women, thus eradicating inequality for good and leaving a perfectly equitable system in its place. Anyway, that's it for the pros of redistribution, which, I'm not going to lie, on first glance seems quite utopian.
But here comes
However,
the
as we
criticism.
now dig a little deeper and move on to the cons, we see this redistribution program has little to no chance of working effectively in the real world. The first con is the fact you cannot force attraction of anyone onto anyone upon anyone. Let me make clear, for the most part, no one chooses who they're attracted to.
So, it's not your choice what you find attractive, but how high standards you have is your choice. And attraction is not a binary thing. It's not that you either find someone very attractive or you find someone hideous. No, there are degrees to it. And your perception of what's attractive and how high standards you have is dependent on the environment. Women weren't as picky before. It's now, with the enormous amount of options they have through social media and dating apps, that they are now way pickier, have way higher standards. But in a monogamous society, where you wouldn't be allowed to have more than one sex partner, it wouldn't have been the same. Like, it wouldn't have looked the same then.
So, when it comes to our redistribution idea, it's all well and good forcing people to get together to start families, but when we zoom in on some of these couples, if an attractive person is assigned a partner who they are not physically attracted to, then that's hardly going to lead to stability in the relationship. In fact, what would most likely happen in these mismatched couples is one person will be highly attracted and eager to get involved physically, meanwhile the other person will feel repulsed just from the thought of it. A dead bedroom is as good as guaranteed.
Yeah, so you don't need to force. Yeah, as I've said before, you don't literally need to force people to be with one specific person. You could just forbid people to have more than one sex partner. And so you don't need to have mismatched couples like this. You know, good-looking girls don't need to be with bad-looking guys. It doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't need to be these mismatched couples. It can just be the case that, you know, it can just be the case that you are with your looks match. You don't have as many options and can go for your looks match. It can just be that the attractive people are with each other and the less attractive people are with each other. So, yeah, you can still be with your looks match despite having a monogamy.
And this leads nicely into my next con, which is that if the natural, free-willed way of dating is outlawed, it's not like it will just disappear. Rather, it will just be moved underground. In other words, if people aren't allowed to date freely who they want to date, then all people will do is turn a blind eye to the legal system and get their desires met behind closed doors. Let's take a look at an example. This is Stacy, and Stacy has a lust for Chad. Chad has a lust for Stacy. However, because of the redistribution program, Stacy has been forced into a relationship with Melvin instead.
I have no problems with Stacy's being with Chad's. She's just with her looks match, right? No, that Stacy's lust for Chad and all with Chad, I don't have a problem with that. But the thing is that it's not just Stacy, but the other women as well who lust for Chad, and many of them can get Chad. They can date upwards. They can get these guys that should be above their league, while other guys just may not even, because of this, other guys may not even be able to get their looks match. They may not be able to get anything at all. That's what the problem is. So yeah, I've no problem with Stacy being with Chad. Like, she doesn't need, like, in a monogamous society, she wouldn't have needed to be with Melvin.
Who she doesn't like at all. Now, in this scenario, do you really think Stacy will be happy and willing to get intimate with Melvin, leading to Melvin babies being born? Of course not. Rather, what's more likely to happen is Stacy will go behind Melvin's back to go wild with Chad in secret. And, believe it or not, this will actually be worse for Melvin than if the redistribution program was never implemented in the first place. Because before redistribution, the worst thing that could happen to Melvin, dating-wise, was that he would die alone. But now, after redistribution, he's got a wife who doesn't value him, and he's faced with raising children that aren't his, and he's got no way out of it. So in essence, what would likely happen if this system was ever introduced in the real world is, on paper, every man, no matter how unattractive, will seem to be better off and seem to have a chance in dating. But between the lines, nothing really will have changed. The 80-20 rule would still be in effect like it was before, just no one would ever know about it as it's all been moved underground.
Yeah, this argument that, yeah, if you forbid people to be with Chads, the women would just be with Chads anyway because there would be an underground market. Like, this argument is incredibly stupid. Like this is the case for like everything that's illegal, like with drugs and stuff like that. It becomes an underground market. Shall we not have any laws because of that? Like, it's so stupid. Like, you can have, like, pedophiles. You can you can say, like, pedophiles. They even if you make it illegal to have sex with kids, pedophiles will still be attracted to kids, and there will be an underground market for this. And so they will have sex with kids anyway, and therefore there's no reason to make it illegal. Like, it's so incredibly stupid. This argument doesn't hold at all. And it should be illegal to cheat. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. It should be very greatly punished if you cheat. And a person shouldn't have to take care of someone else's kids.
The next and final con is I predict that many men will become lazy. Let me ask you this. If you were told you were to be handed a beautiful wife at age 18 for no work, why would you bother doing anything that increases your value? It's a matter of fact, I've often heard people say that the ultimate goal of humanity as a species is reproduction. If you go to the gym, it's because you want to build muscle, which will increase your SMV, and therefore increase your chances of reproduction. If you go to work, it's because you want more resources for yourself to again increase your SMV to increase your chances of reproduction. Or alternatively, if you already have a family, you want to work to get more resources, to ensure your children get a great start in life,
Oh, so now you're
so that
motivated,
when they
despite
grow
having
up,
access to
it
the
will
sexual.
eventually increase their chances of reproduction for the next
What about
generation.
women?
So
Why do they think?
basically,
Why
no
do they
matter
do stuff?
what productive activity men do, it all
What about
points
women?
back to reproduction. And under the redistribution system, if you make this a guarantee, then the channel feeding into it from above goes away. Worst case, men become lazy, society collapses. Anyway, those are my 2 pros and 3 cons for socializing the dating market. And to conclude, I think it's quite obvious this idea would never work effectively in the real world.
Of course,
If
it
you
says that.
have anything more to add or something I've missed, be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if not, be sure to press the like button on your way out, as it all helps the YouTube algorithm.
No, I make a video instead. Yeah, so this whole idea that getting access to the sexual is such a good motivator. It's something that makes people succeed. Do good stuff and self-improve and succeed and stuff like that. It's not true. Okay? If this was the case, then there would be no reason for women to do anything. They don't need to be successful or anything like that. No, they are unconditionally valuable and liked, and they have guaranteed and unlimited access to the sexual. Like, they don't need to do anything, pretty much. Like, so why would they do anything then? If this was something that was such a good motivator, something that you needed to motivate people, why would they do anything? Like, if this was the case, then they would be super lazy. But guess what? They are doing very well. They do very well in school. They are very successful. They are very motivated despite this. And then you can look at the guys that are good looking and therefore have access to the sexual immediately at a young age. Like, there would be no motivation for them to do anything either. While the ugly guys who don't have access to the sexual to begin with, they would be very successful because of this motivation. But guess how it is? Guys that are good looking are also more successful. And this is not strange at all, because how it is that having access to the sexual to begin with is something that helps you to succeed. It's something that motivates you. It's something that makes you feel so much better psychologically. It makes you feel more motivated, and it makes you get help and support that you need from your social contacts. Having access to the sexual and social to begin with is something that helps you to succeed. It's something that helps you to stay motivated. Yeah, that's how it is, really. And yeah, it can be the other way around. If you don't have access to it, then you can, that could lead to depression. Like, if you're lonely and celibate, living loneliness, celibacy, and misery to begin with, it can lead to depression, make you feel not motivated at all, and it can make you not have the help and support that you need from people, and this can prevent you from succeeding. So this is how it is. Having things to begin with helps you to succeed. It's like, you can see it in other ways. Like, if you're born into a rich family where you have it very good to begin with, that helps you enormously to succeed. While if you're born into a poor family and live in terrible conditions to begin with, it's not something that makes it easier for you to succeed because of the motivation you have to make money. No, that's not how it is. Having good things to begin with helps you. And then Wheat Waffles go on talking about how, you even if you had access to the sexual and have kids and all, then you would still be motivated to do stuff because you want to provide for your family and all. And that just shows how, yeah, you are still motivated despite having had access to the sexual. You don't need to be prevented from having access to the basic sexual stuff in order to be motivated. Like, that's not how it is. Yeah, and then he basically talks about how, yeah, it can't be done. Like, it's not possible. And this is not true. Like, it's not true that monogamy couldn't be a thing. You can definitely regulate the sexual market. You can definitely regulate who you're allowed to have sexual relationships with. People can claim that, if you forbid people to have more than one sex partner, that would lead to a horrible oppressive dictatorship. But this is just a ridiculous slippery slope made to defend the current unfair system. I mean, it can definitely be done. There are already some regulations on the sexual market. Like, you're not allowed to have sex with kids, right? Was that impossible to implement? Has the world become a horrible, oppressive dictatorship because of it? Yeah, I don't think so. So, yeah, regulating the sexual market, regulating who you're allowed to sleep around with, and forbid to have more than one sex partner and have this kind of monogamy is something you can do and should do. So, this video of Wheat Waffles, his arguments doesn't hold. Like, but he's this very well-off guy who doesn't have it bad through this system himself. So why would he care? So anyway, that was today's video. Bye.